Hasan bin Abul Hasan Al-Bashri was born in the city of Madinah in 642 AD. He was the son of a slave who had been captured in Mazin and later became an assistant to the scribe of Prophet Muhammad, Zayd bin Thabit. Since he was raised in Basra, he frequently met many companions of the Prophet, including 70 companions who had participated in the Battle of Badr. Hasan grew to become one of the most prominent figures of his time. He was renowned for his unwavering piety and openly criticized the lavish lifestyles of the elite. In Sufi hagiography, he is revered as one of the greatest saints of early Islamic history. Hasan passed away in the city of Basra in 728 AD at the age of 86. Many of his speeches and sayings have been quoted by Arab writers, and several of his letters can still be read today. At first, Hasan of Basra was a gemstone merchant, which earned him the nickname Hasan the Pearl Merchant. He had trade relations with Byzantium, which gave him connections with generals and prime ministers. During one of his journeys to Byzantium, Hasan visited the prime minister and they conversed for a while. The minister then said, "If you like, we can go somewhere." Hasan replied, "It's up to you, wherever you lead, I will follow." The minister ordered a horse to be prepared for Hasan. The minister mounted his horse and Hasan did the same, after which they set off into the desert. Upon reaching their destination, Hasan saw a tent made of Byzantine brocade, tied with silk ropes and supported by golden poles on the ground. Hasan stood at a distance. Soon a powerful army appeared, fully equipped for battle. They circled the tent, muttered a few words and then left. After that, nearly 400 philosophers and scholars arrived. They surrounded the tent, muttered a few words and then left. 300 wise elders with white beards then came forward. They approached, circled the tent, muttered a few words and then left. Finally, more than 200 beautiful maidens arrived, each carrying trays filled with gold, silver and gemstones. They circled the tent, muttered a few words and then left it behind. Hasan recounted how astonished he was by these events and asked himself, "What does it all mean?" As we left the place, Hasan continued his story. "I asked the prime minister about it, and he replied that the emperor once had a handsome son who mastered many branches of knowledge and was unbeatable in feats of bravery. The emperor loved his son dearly. Unexpectedly, the young prince fell gravely ill, and even the most skilled physicians could not cure him. Eventually, the young prince passed away and was buried beneath that tent. Every year, people come to visit his grave." The first group of soldiers who circled the tent said, "O Crown Prince, if the calamity that befell you had happened on the battlefield, we would have sacrificed our lives to save you. But this disaster came from him whom we cannot fight or challenge." After saying these words, they left the place. Then it was the philosophers and scholars' turn. They said, "The calamity that has befallen you came from him whom we cannot resist with knowledge, philosophy, or tricks. For all the philosophers on this earth are powerless against him, and all the scholars are but fools before him. If this were not the case, we would have presented arguments that no one in this universe could refute." After speaking these words, the philosophers and scholars left the place. Next, the noble elders came forward and said, "O Crown Prince, if the calamity that befell you could be prevented by the intervention of elders, we would have stopped it with our humble prayers, and we would certainly not have left you here alone. But the calamity that has struck you came from him, whose decree cannot be stopped by the intervention of weak men." After these words, they too left. Then the beautiful maidens approached, carrying trays filled with gold and gemstones. They circled the tent and said, "O son of the emperor, if the calamity that has befallen you could be ransomed with wealth and beauty, we would willingly offer ourselves and all this wealth to redeem you and would not have left you here. But this disaster was decreed by him, who cannot be influenced by wealth or beauty." After these words, they left the place. Finally, the emperor himself, along with the prime minister, entered the tent and said, "O light of my eyes and heart, O beloved son, what can your father do? I have brought forth a powerful army, philosophers and scholars, sages and advisors, and beautiful maidens, along with wealth and treasures. I have come myself. If any of this had been of use, I would have done everything in my power. But this calamity has been decreed upon you by him, whom your father, along with all his officials, soldiers, guards, wealth and treasures, cannot oppose. May you find peace. Farewell until next year." With these words, the emperor left the place. The minister's story deeply moved Hasan. He could not resist the call of his heart, and he immediately prepared to return to his homeland. Upon reaching the city of Basra, He swore never to laugh again in this world until he knew for certain what fate awaited him. He then devoted himself to all kinds of acts of worship and self-discipline that no one could match during his lifetime. One day, as Abu Amr, a renowned Quranic interpreter, was teaching the Quran, a handsome young man suddenly appeared and joined in to listen. Abu Amr was so captivated by the youth's beauty that he immediately forgot every word and letter of the Quran. Deeply regretful and troubled by his actions, he went to visit Hasan of Basra to express his inner turmoil. "Teacher," Abu Amr tearfully recounted, "this is what happened. Every word and letter of the Quran has vanished from my memory." Hasan was deeply moved by Abu Amr's situation. "It is now the Hajj season," Hasan said to him. "Go to the sacred land and perform the pilgrimage. After that, go to the Cave Mosque. There you will find an elderly man. Do not approach him immediately. Wait until he finishes his worship. Afterward, ask him to pray for you." Abu Amr followed Hasan's advice. In the corner of the Cave Mosque, Abu Amr saw an elderly man of great reverence, surrounded by a few people. After some time, a man dressed in pure white entered. The people made way for him, greeted him, and then conversed with him. When the time for prayer came, the man in white took his leave. Shortly after, the others left as well, leaving only the elderly man behind. Abu Amr approached him and greeted him with salam. "In the name of Allah, help me," Abu Amr said, crying, and then explained his sorrowful situation. The elderly man was deeply concerned by Abu Amr's story and raised his head in prayer. Before he could even lower his head, Abu Amr narrated, "All the words and letters of the Quran returned to my memory. I fell prostrate before him in gratitude." "Who sent you to me?" asked the elderly man. "Hasan of Basra," replied Abu Amr. "If someone has an imam like Hasan," the old man commented, "why does he need any other imam? But very well, Hasan has revealed who I am, and now I will reveal who he truly is. He has lifted the veil from me, and now I will lift the veil from him." The elderly man then continued, "The man in the white robe who came here after the Asr prayer, who left before the others and was respected by all, that was Hasan. Every day after performing the prayer in Basra, he comes here, converses with me, and returns to Basra in time for the Maghrib prayer. If someone has an imam like Hasan, why would they feel the need to ask for my prayers?" Hasan had a neighbor named Simeon, a fire worshipper. One day, Simeon fell seriously ill, and his death seemed near. Simeon's friends asked Hasan to visit him, and eventually, Hasan went to see Simeon, who lay on his bed, his body darkened by the fire and smoke. "Fear Allah," Hasan advised. "You've wasted your entire life in the midst of fire and smoke." "There are 3 things that have prevented me from becoming a Muslim," replied Simeon, the fire worshipper. "The first is the fact that even though you Muslims claim to despise worldly things, day and night you pursue wealth. Second, you say that death is inevitable, but you do not prepare for it. And third, you claim that the face of Allah will be seen, yet to this day you engage in deeds that displease Him." "These are the words of those who truly understand," Hasan responded. "If Muslims behave as you describe, what do you say of yourself? They still believe in the oneness of Allah, while you have worshipped fire for 70 years, something I have never done. If we are both thrown into hell, the fire will burn you and me alike, but if Allah wills, not even a single hair on my body will be harmed. This is because the fire was created by Allah, and everything created by Him is subject to His command. Although you have worshipped fire for 70 years, let us both put our hands into the fire, so you can witness for yourself that the fire is powerless, and that Allah is all-powerful." With that, Hasan placed his hand into the fire. Remarkably, he was not injured or burned at all. Simeon was astonished by this sight, and a glimmer of realization appeared in him. "For 70 years I have worshipped fire," Simeon lamented, "and now, with only a breath or 2 left, what should I do?" "Become a Muslim," Hasan replied. "If you give me a written guarantee that Allah will not punish me," said Simeon, "then I will become a Muslim. Without such a guarantee, I will not embrace Islam." Hasan immediately wrote a guarantee for him. "Now go and bring the honest men of Basra to witness this guarantee," Simeon said. As tears streamed from his eyes, Simeon then declared himself a Muslim. He gave his final will to Hasan. "After I die, bathe my body with your own hands, bury me, and place this guarantee in my hand. This document will serve as proof that I am a Muslim." After giving his will, he recited the Shahada and passed away. They bathed his body, performed the funeral prayer, and buried him with the written guarantee in his hand. That night, Hasan went to sleep, deeply contemplating what he had done. How can I save someone who is drowning when I am in the same situation myself? I cannot determine my own fate, so why did I dare to guarantee what Allah will do? With these thoughts, Hasan fell asleep. In his dream he saw Simeon, whose face was radiant, glowing like a lamp. He wore a crown on his head, a beautiful robe, and was walking in the gardens of paradise. "How are you, Simeon?" Hasan asked. "Why do you ask when you can see for yourself?" replied Simeon. "Allah the Almighty, in His immense mercy, has brought me near to Him and allowed me to see His face. His grace upon me is beyond words. You gave me a written guarantee, but now take it back, for I no longer need it." When Hasan awoke, he found the guarantee in his own hand. "O Allah," Hasan cried, "I understand that everything you do is solely due to your mercy. Who could ever be lost at your door? You have allowed someone who worshipped fire for 70 years to come near you, purely because of a single statement. How then could you reject someone who has believed for 70 years?